When I'm lazing around at home, I get more tired than when I am busy. Then why can't you then be busy doing something? So community. Everything we do as a community, and community here does not just mean our localities. Even Africa is a community. Everything we do together for common goals, that is advancing community interests. So, what is it that we should talk about today here, because we are church leaders and we are leaders in our own rights? So when we talk about our institutions and the work that we do, what comes to our mind first when we talk about community? Of course, the first thing is to preach, especially on Sundays. But I am here to say that we have much more role to play. And I'm not talking to you as a church leader in the church you lead. I'm here talking to you as a church leader in your country. So when I'm talking to you from Malawi, I'm talking to you representing the entire Malawi and all the people who do the work you do. So when we talk about that, can we first of all take a slice of it, just a small slice? So if you are in a church leader leading 1,000 people in your church, of course you have monetary needs. You have societal needs that you need to impart to the people. But let me just talk about this money part only. There are things you need to do as a church. So there are things you need to raise money for. There is a church which has a congregation. Maybe they require $100,000 for a project. $100,000 for a project. So there is one church which will do, in Kenya we call them harambes or fundraisers. So they'll do fundraisers for 2 years to get that money, $100,000. But there's also a church where one person in the congregation will actually shoulder that responsibility alone. That one person. So it gives us a reflective mode. That yes, I'll not talk about the spiritual part because I don't want to purport to teach the fish how to swim. That's your area. So I'm not only talking about this other side. So you have a church of 1,000 people. They come to church, that's your membership. So you have a congregation that needs to undertake a project of $100,000. With a congregation of 100,000, of 1,000, you may raise this money over a period of 2 years, every Sunday, canvassing for that money. But there is another person doing exactly what you are doing. In one Sunday, 2 men or 2 ladies will just say, we take it up, give us the bank account, consider it done. When I reflect about that, and I was reflecting about it when I was coming here, then I realized what we do as leaders, yourself included, is beyond every Sunday. It must go into the lives of these people every single day. Because if you are leading an empowered people, it means you are the more empowered. If I'm a leader in the place I come from, and there is no one who needs any assistance to take their children to school, it means we have elevated our problems to something more. We are no longer dealing with basics. And I thought it is important we talk about that. In Kenya, for example, the schools we attended, including the one I went, were church-sponsored. Meaning, devoid of the church, majority of us would not have accessed schools. You know, many times it looks obvious. It looks obvious. I went to a primary school, ACK sponsored, Catholic sponsored, this sponsored. It looks obvious because we didn't have to participate in it. But now it is us who are in those positions today. And when I reflect that there are men who sat down, there are women who sat down when education was not a norm. It was not fashionable to think about education. It was more about how do you sell your daughter. It was more about how your son can herd more cows. That there are people who sat down without resources, first of all, gave up their land. They just say, you have 10 acres, from today you have 9. You have 8, you no longer have 8. You have 7.2 acres. They seeded land, every person, to make land available for us to go to school. And then when you remove that from ourselves today, the kind of people we would be, the kind of barbarism we would be peddling around as people would be monumental. People sat down, sacrificed. In Kenya, maybe close to 80% of our running institutions were started by people like you, seated in this hall today, who came together. They started now providing solutions for the problem that was there, and now we are where we are. The same thing with institutions, health institutions in Kenya. Majority of them were actually started by churches. You can imagine that. People realize we need a health center here. They go ahead, they start it. We may start arguing. There were some external people helping them. Far from it. Some were even started by African indigenous churches. So I am here to talk about that kind of transformation that is beyond today, but even more beyond a person going towards the society and the community. That we must not keep on thinking that was a problem for those people then. Our problems in Africa are not yet solved. And there are no other leaders to look at and point at them. The leaders to do things in Africa are in this hall today. So we must start taking that challenge. The challenge of transforming our continent from where we are serving. So there are things that I want to highlight, which I would challenge all of us to do as a church, as leaders. As we lead, community development is first of all doing away with the problems. So you are doing away with the problems in our societies. So which are these problems in the first place? Because by the time you want to get rid of problems, what are they? I believe in the many African countries I've visited, including our own motherland here in Kenya, the number one societal problem we have to deal with is lack. In other words, poverty. So whatever thing we are addressing, at the back of our mind as leaders, let's always know there is a bigger elephant we must keep on fighting here. And this bigger elephant is called poverty. But how do we deal with poverty many times? Aid, donors, fundraising to help is okay. That's good for short term. But I want you here, because you've read many books, cite for me one model of a country that grew out of aid. One country in the whole world that we cite now, this country grew out of people donating money to them. I've never seen. Show me one university in the entire of Africa, you tell me, this one was established courtesy of donations, and it has reached there courtesy of donations. Why is it that we can't show fundamentally transformative agendas that has only come out of being given? Then it means, from today, the leaders here are not leaders of donations anymore. They are leaders of bigger transformation. Because there is no better way of judging the future but by the past. So judge from the past. Show me one country in the entire world which we read in economics books and we say, you know, they were very poor and now they are very rich because they were given money as donations, as aid. Where? None. Zero. So it has not worked for 200 years. It's not likely to work in the next 10 years. So then how do we do it?